This is the Battle of Stay Alert, Legendary Difficulty, with mod 1.8 of the UI mod. So, I'm not sure if I bring 11 or 12 units. I can't remember if I got all 11 or if I got that extra unit or not. So we're going to find out together, because I forgot. Okay, and yeah, I showed the exact disposition of my units. I have one Enfield and some Lorenzes and Mississippis. And what I've decided to do is one of my infantry units is going to be near the objective because the enemy attacks you with skirmishers and cav. And I'm also going to detach these skirmishers and detach skirmishers from every unit, and they're also going to help me get coverage of the line. So, this leads me into an interesting discussion about artillery. I love artillery, and the only reason I played the Union campaign for 1,000 hours before I started my first serious attempt at the Confederate campaign is entirely because the CSA does not have artillery the way the Union does. And it takes, I think I watched a couple playthroughs, I think Pandakraut and Fiasco, and they made the campaign look interesting because they were able to, well, they did very interesting playthroughs, but they also focused on buying some good artillery, and by mid-campaign they had some pretty good artillery units. It was not the equal of the Union campaign, but it wasn't bad. So, yeah, I finally decided to give the CSA campaign a try. This is my second attempt. The first one was made shorter because my graphics card died. And yeah, so, but I'm having a real good time with this one. This is my second campaign, and I've learned a lot, and there are some new tactics to try out, so it's all good. But I'm not using any artillery at all in some of these battles. Like, for example, this one. And I think that the reason is, well, Confederate infantry is good, but that's not the reason. The main reason is that, first of all, you need coverage of the battlefield. And you can lose this battle pretty easily. And these units attacking on the flanks are awfully good. And yeah, the only way you're going to stop these large, very good units with good, I think, good weapons is, and they're very persistent, is to have coverage of the battlefield, that there's a solid line. Now, in reality, the enemy could just roll over this line. Like right now, you can look at the blue line and the red line, and there's a lot more blue than red here. And these enemy units, he has artillery. He could stack up anywhere. I would attack my leftmost infantry unit and just roll over top of it. And I don't think I could stop these 3 infantry units, if they, or 3 cav units, if they decided just to roll over top of my skirmishers either. What you're doing is you're convincing the AI not to charge. That's all you're doing. And detached skirmishers help with that because the enemy sees your detached skirmishers as an infantry unit. So the enemy is calculating there's a whole circle of infantry. And at one point, there's actually a detached skirmisher and an infantry unit. They see that as 2 infantry units. In reality, I'm really outnumbered, and he could stack up anywhere, stack up his units at any single point in my line, and punch through. And once he punched through anywhere, I would not have good defensive terrain. So, yeah, it comes back. My point is, you want coverage of the line. You can't have any gaps. And he's going to actually keep pushing to my left, his right, and try to get around my line, which is actually pretty smart. Artillery, not terribly useful here. Not really. The first part of this is hold the line, and the second part is just, well, the battle's over. It used to be that your reinforcements came in much sooner, and in that case, maybe bring in an artillery with the reinforcements. But the enemy comes in so late, or your reinforcements come in so late, that if your units have held the line, you don't need artillery. What you need is just infantry to encircle him and destroy him, which is what we're going to do. So I did keep one unit. I kept the detached skirmisher there. Now, with the tactics that we're using now, you can greatly reduce your losses to your units by stacking up a detached skirmisher with an infantry unit. So first of all, stay in cover. That's a good idea. Secondly, stack up detached skirmisher with infantry. And you can cut your losses by about half or more. So if I could, I would prefer to have these detached skirmishers actually stacked up with their parent unit on the line, but I can't. So yeah, this is basically going to be just an exercise to convince the enemy not to charge. Like, I'm looking at this right now. If his 2 infantry units charge the unit that's right in front of it, the odds are my unit's going to rout. He's going to punch a hole in my line, and it's over. So I can't get into melee with this guy. So what I'm doing is, his 1 unit is moving forward. I hit pause so I can have everyone target the guy in the front, inflict losses on him, and convince him to fall back. So that's what we're doing there. So I'm able to fire 3 units into that guy, hopefully convince him to fall back, and then we'll keep firing at the other guy. These detached skirmishers have to keep convincing all of these cav and skirmisher units not to punch through the detached skirmishers. And I have an infantry unit there if everything goes to hell. Now, these detached skirmishers are only inflicting very minimal damage on the enemy. So the enemy's going to attack about 50 times. He has to win 1 of those. I have to win all 50. Does that make sense? Like, if I lose 1 time, this position is busted open, and yeah, and it's a long time before the reinforcements get here. So if he busts through, the odds of me holding that objective are not good. He busts through anywhere. His infantry gets into melee and busts through, I lose. Like right now I'm in melee. That's not good, but I'm able to fall back and get out of melee. And maybe we weakened him a little bit there. So that wasn't bad at all. I can see the rate that the enemy is firing. His units have lost some morale. That's all good. One of his units has routed, and everybody can focus on these 2 guys to the front, and that's what we're hoping to do. Just keep focusing on the guys to the front, keep focusing to the guys who aren't routing, and then if they attack piecemeal in small groups, we can get a tactical advantage. Like right now, the guy in front has finally started to turn white, and the guy behind him is not firing in volleys. We got this. So yeah, these 2 guys are going to retreat. We can milk them for some XP. Yeah, the other thing you could do here is build ballast units, but I didn't do that. I drove the enemy up to the sky, which, you know, every campaign I've played before this, I've played trying to drive down scaling by building ballast units and keeping my losses down that way. This is not about that. I'm trying to get as much combat experience as possible, as many kills and captures as possible. I've intentionally driven scaling as high as possible. And yeah, his units are, you know, at the max limit. So, you know, mission accomplished there. We're going to take some losses because of that, but I'm not that worried about it. Okay, here he comes for another charge. My detached skirmisher Must have been taking all the hits because he routed. Just stay out of melee for right now and hit this guy. Now when my reinforcements come in, we're going to be looking for melee opportunities, but right now we're just buying time. That's all we're doing. And look, that guy already routed, or he's flashing white. We've already broken that guy. So good. So I'm going to merge the shot up detached skirmisher back into the parent unit and detach another fresh unit. I'm also paying attention to the number of losses that I'm taking. The enemy's fighting well, and I'm going to take some losses in this battle. But kind of, that's okay. You know, it's a battle. All we have to do is win this and keep our losses. If I stay in cover, losses will be at as low as I can hope for. And yeah, and then after that, we actually attack, and we'll have greater losses because we are going to get into melee, but we're going to get captures. And that's the crucial point. Right now, we need captures and melee experience. So 3-on-1, absolutely exactly what we want, and hopefully drive this guy back. And on the flank, yeah, what he should do is attack with 3 units against one of my detached skirmishers and really attack hard. And his skirmishers are now going to be, you know, I'm going to have a 2-to-1 advantage, actually 3-to-1 on that one guy. And yeah, I'm going to win each one of those. And again, all we're trying to do is buy time. It's interesting to me. I have people watching the series who have never played a campaign before. And one of the things to keep in mind is this is Legendary. Legendary is not like 10% or 20% more difficult than Brigadier General or Major General. This is a lot more difficult. I mean, several times more difficult. You play on Brigadier General, the battle doesn't look like this. The enemy is not this tough and not as resilient, and the units aren't as big, and they're not as well equipped. I mean, I'm looking at... Well, actually, I'm pretty surprised. Well, it's early in the campaign, so I'm looking at 1-star and 2-star units. That it's quite possible to find yourself in a legendary battle, and every enemy unit is 3-star. And that's never gonna... That doesn't happen on Brigadier General. So yeah, as it pertains to artillery, artillery is good. It's a good thing to have a lot of it. It's crucial in a lot of battles, particularly grand battles. But the single most important thing is coverage of the battlefield. Being able to get the coverage that you want. So basically, every battle you tailor your army to what you have to accomplish and the terrain. And also the enemy force that you're going to be facing. Oh, this looks like a ghost cav. You can tell right away where I'm telling someone to target a unit, and the unit is not aiming at the unit you see. What you actually have here is the unit is not where he appears to be. So to find him, I'm going to have people charge. We'll get 2-on-1, except he's nowhere near where we think he is. He's someplace else. So I'm going to run this guy down, make him rout. We need to make this guy stop charging, so we had 2 infantry units charge. I'm not entirely sure where that cav unit is. Yeah, the ghost cav is a problem in the game, and it's such a problem at this point that I'm turning my infantry unit and a detached skirmisher to run this guy down, because I don't know exactly where he is. And he's actually captured my supply location, which I don't think I'm using anyway, but I don't want him to use it. So, but we need to drive this guy off and maybe kill him. Yeah, we can't get into melee. So we got that unit to stop. We got the first infantry unit that charged in to fall back. That's good. The second unit is getting beaten up on pretty good, so we should convince him to move back any second now and then get back into cover. Yep, he's routing, so now we can get back into cover. Yeah, his cav unit actually appears to be where he is now. That, like, where I see him is where he is. The ghost cav, where you see him, he's not actually there. And it's real irritating. So another charging unit. We need to convince that guy not to charge. But we're in pretty good shape right now. But see how he has 2 cav units against my 2 detached skirmishers? He could easily win that if he would just be more aggressive. So and here come my troops just in time. So I would like to cut off. He has a couple of cav to the right. If I can cut those guys off, they'll be easy to kill. I won't have to run them down. But we'll have to see. Yeah, this is basically just roll him up at this point. And you can see how his units have been pretty shot up. Their morale seems to be low. They're a bit battered. His cav, they're down pretty small. Yeah, he's charging aggressively with that cav unit, but again, it might be a ghost cav, who knows. But for some reason, he wants to get all his cav to the other side of the map. And I'm thinking, that's good. That'll be easy for me to send detached skirmishers, cut them off. Because see, if he goes to the north with his cav, I'm going to cut him off with infantry and detached skirmishers from my reinforcements, and he's never going to get out of this pocket. He's going to die in the north right corner of the map easily. I can kill him separately, as like I don't really want him going back and helping his infantry. If I can cut him off and kill him, that would be much better for me. So I'm actually having my infantry follow along with those 2 cav. I cannot let him get 2-to-1 on my detached skirmisher. I'll lose that attack, but his detached skirmisher took some flanking shots and he's already routing. So I didn't really want to run anybody, but yeah, it looks like I might have to. Yeah, all we need to do is channel him. It's like herding cats, man. You just get him to retreat into the corner of the map at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 units came in. That means 11 units. Yep, 11 units. It's 6 and 5. 11 units come into this battle. So we can take a moment and kill these guys. I forget how long the battle lasts, but it's a very long battle. And it's won at this point. And his army is going to be wiped out. So we can systematically just destroy one part of his army after another. It's very easy at this point. So, yep, and that skirmisher is dead. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 detached skirmishers. I was going to send to the north, but it's not necessary now. And no infantry needs to go. Like, I'm thinking that guy was designated to go to the north and help, but I'm not going to need him. I'm thinking I am going to need 1 infantry probably to deal with that cav. 1, 2, 3, 4 cav units. 1 infantry probably be very helpful. But the Mississippi is closer to that edge of the board than the reinforcements that just came in. Oh, and we did retake the supply location, so that's good. Now, what I'm doing right now is more how I fight with detached skirmishers than what the new tactics that Hi Bob and other people have discovered. The new tactics are to keep the detached skirmishers with the parent unit, but as you can see, I'm using detached skirmishers as infantry. And yeah, in the north part of the map right now, one of my detached skirmishers just shot up a cav unit, the unit that was the ghost cav, and now they're shooting up the other cav units. They must be rifle cav because they're not getting into melee. I didn't want to run anybody to the front line, but he charged with an infantry unit, and so I'm running a unit to hit that unit in the flank. I also decided to send the Mississippi to help out. Maybe we can get some captures on these calves, and the Mississippi can charge, maybe capture a couple. So I'm walking the Mississippi over there, and yeah, hopefully we'll get into some melee. I'm sending a detached skirmisher through the woods because the enemy tends to like to hide in there, and I want to make sure that nobody sneaks around behind my army. That's always irritating. And the enemy will do that. The AI will try to sneak somebody around and steal the victory location at the last minute. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And as you can see now, we outnumber the enemy, and that's always, we probably have 2 to 1, and anytime you're at 1 to 1, it should be an easy victory. So, and from this point it is. I mean, this is just very easy. This is just roll them up. The infantry is almost there, almost in position, getting there. We'll get on his flank and then start rolling him up. And I need to push my detached skirmishers and a couple infantry all the way to the left edge of the board, and then all the way to the top of the map, and finally get the enemy in a tiny little pocket. Yeah, we have completely cut off the couple of cav units in the north, so they'll either be shattered or captured. Yeah, and I'm not so interested in pushing the enemy back. Although I'd like to drive him out of this clump of woods that he's in because he has some cover there. If I can drive him out into the open where he has less cover, that would be a good thing. So I'd like to do that. But otherwise, this is more about surrounding him and degrading him more than shooting and inflicting casualties. And yeah, in that regard, I don't have any 2-star units. But if I did have 2-star units, the rapid fire perk would be better for that than, say, the accuracy perk. Also, I'm thinking I very much want to get all my detached skirmishers. I mean, it's fun to kill his cav and all, but I don't want to advance out of these woods until my detached skirmishers are back with their parent units. I do not want my infantry without detached skirmishers going into the open because he has artillery. Well, he has infantry that'll drive up my losses, but he also has artillery that will drive up my losses. So never, ever, ever advance infantry into canister. That's a bad idea. So as you approach artillery, it should always be detached skirmishers taking the hit, and then infantry falling up and hitting the artillery. So yeah, concentrated canister fire against exposed infantry is very bad. Okay, and I'm already starting to get, like, what I'm doing right now is you have to have your detached skirmishers identified clearly so that you know where you can easily find the parent unit. And what I'm doing is I'm sending my detached skirmishers back to their parent. So I'm telling them to go to a position right behind the parent unit, and then I'll hit the T button, which has them merge. So I tend to use hotkeys, and I think hotkeys really make the game easier to play. So yeah, two of my infantry look like they might be able to get into some cover, which would be very nice. Not just cover, but cover on the flank and rear of his infantry. So that would be good. And one is a Palmetto and the other one is a 42, so the closer I can get to him, the better. Oh yeah, now he's going to take shots. Front, flank, and rear, this is going to be over in a hurry. Yeah, and my Mississippi is going to be right on his flank. So that guy's going to rout. And his other infantry is turning around to fire at my Palmetto, which is great. Fire at the Palmetto and not the Lorenz. Happy to see that. And yeah, so I'm going to hit him in the rear. So that's going to be great too. Yeah, it's definitely time for a charge. And 2-on-1 should make quick work of that. Yeah, we're going to get very up close here. And these guys, charge, get in there. Oh, denied, shattered. Yeah, his units are barely firing. Look at them. All three units are just tiny puffs of smoke, irregular intervals, and I'm firing volleys into them. Yeah, this is so one-sided. Okay, so one of my units now has his detached skirmisher back, and I finally get to merge it back in and then detach a skirmisher. He will take fewer losses now. That's good. I didn't capture either one of those cav units, did I? Yeah, that's a shame. Okay, I have 3 detached skirmishers against his 1 skirmisher, so that's easy. I want to wait. I really want to wait until I get these detached skirmishers on the right back to their parent unit before the attack begins, but as you can see, everything's going really well. It's kind of like there are opportunities all over the place here to inflict damage on the enemy at no cost, so it's like the attack is way ahead of schedule. I did not intend for this to happen yet. It's just he exposed his flank. I hit it. 2 units collapsed. I can push him out of the wooded area. Okay, that's great. That 3rd unit's going to rout. Then what happens? Then where do I go? I wanted these guys on the right to be back so that I could, have my entire army in the attack. But he's just collapsing. And I'm already around him. I mean, I'm already to the rear of his infantry. His artillery is exposed. I can get shots on that. It's a mistake to chase after the ammo because that's not as important as routing his artillery. So, yeah, I'm like, it's going to take, what, 10 minutes to get the infantry and the detached skirmishers back to the main force, and yeah, there's no reason to wait. His line is collapsing. But I would take fewer losses if I had those units here. So yeah, that one infantry unit against two of mine who have their detached skirmishers, this is just not going to go at all well for him. That unit's going to break. The unit in the center is going to break because he has two infantry units that are going to face him, and he's going to have 3 or 4 on his flank and rear in a second. And then the only question is how much damage can his artillery do to my infantry. But the good news is my infantry is going to have some cover. So if I can make them rout before my infantry breaks, that would be great. And at that point, his line is completely broken. His units have some size to them. Like I'm looking, well, he was over 2,000, but now he's under 2,000 because he just got hit again. Only one unit is over 2,000. Everybody else is now under. But that just happened in the last volley. He had a couple that were over 2,000. They got hit. Now they're under 2,000. So they are in pretty good condition to be captured. If I can get this guy down to about 17 or 1800, he's a 2-star, then we can start capturing some of these guys. And I don't have any captures yet. So whatever captures I'm going to get, and I do want to get some captures because I need guns. Yeah, this guy's down to 100, so he's about to fold. So we'll try to capture him. And I'll have 2-on-1. Bad news is he's in the woods. See, I told you that guy was going to fold. So, and the guy on my right, his left, also just folded. A couple of shots on him, and that was it. So all of the infantry has folded. Now we have to get the artillery to rout, and yeah, and it looks like his unit isn't there, but I know from experience I should have sent someone into the corner if I don't see sprites fleeing. Like, you know, when you shatter someone, you see the fleeing sprites. If you don't see fleeing sprites, he might be in the corner hiding, because he'll do that. As I find out at Shiloh. Hey, my infantry just took a shot. That's not good. But his infantry is fleeing, and I'm going to have 4 infantry on top of his artillery, plus the 2, so that would be 6 infantry on top of his artillery in just a minute. So I need to get detached skirmishers on top of his artillery as fast as I can to rout them, and then it's over. And really, it's only 9 o'clock, so I don't know what time this ends, but I should actually be more patient. I know I'm not because of his artillery. I want to kill his artillery, but then after that, I should just be patient. Have my units do some walking to grind up condition, and just take my time. And take a knee and just let the clock run down. And by take a knee, I mean detach skirmishers and let skirmishers just take shots at the enemy, and just get the clock within, I don't know, 20 minutes of whenever the end of the battle is scheduled. And yeah, then and have everybody else walk. But right now, what I'm thinking about isn't that. What I'm thinking about is getting as many capture. Well, first of all, killing his artillery, because I've now taken 3 canister blasts on my Palmetto, and he has come back instantly because this is legendary. So that's not good. And finally, all 3 of his artillery is routing. Finally. So now I'm going to gang up on his infantry and start hitting him from all sides. But as you can see, he's not broken yet. His infantry came back. So you don't really want to get into melee until his infantry isn't coming back. Like they're routing, flashing white, surrendering, and then being recaptured because they're right next to another Union unit. But that's okay. It really does give you a whole bunch of signals that the units are broken and they're ready to surrender. And I'm not getting that yet. What I'm seeing is they're strong and they're not interested in surrendering right now. However, they are pretty fragile, and they take 1 or 2 shots from detached skirmishers and they rout. So they're not going to be able to do that very long before it's over. And the really important thing is I have these, I have them surrounded now. I don't want to push too hard on them because that'll just make them pop out of the balloon somewhere. So, and I have an infantry unit that I'd like to get up into the battle, that Mississippi to the right. There's no reason to push hard. All I've got to do is make sure his artillery doesn't recover. And, you know, I'd like to kill them before they actually get away. That would be good. Oh, his retreating artillery is actually firing at my guy. So 1 artillery dead. Come on, let's kill the second one. But his infantry recovered, and look, they're firing. So okay, these guys have recovered some conditions, so I can bring them back, the detached skirmishers. These guys I'm trying to get back to their parent unit. So the army is in a little bit of chaos right now. And there's, other than killing his artillery, there's no reason to press the attack. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry firing at one of his units. That should rout it. I'm trying to make sure nobody is blocked. I should really put some of these guys on hold. Yeah, because if you take a look at my 1 unit, yeah, I'm starting to put some of these guys on hold because they're going to start bouncing around. As long as they were moving forward, they weren't going to bounce. But notice units are starting to bounce around. So yeah, I should have hit pause and then just have them put them on hold and stop all that because that's not good. His army is pretty much done at this point. It's not going to be effective. So the question is, how do you capture these guys? As I'm looking at this, I should, like I have the 1 infantry fall back because he almost always routes to the left edge of the map. If I can stack up my units, so I've found this to be true. Like his rear unit, if I can get 2 of my units on the right to charge into the guy that's in the rear, I can get a capture. And then each unit after that gets 2 infantry to charge that guy. So he has 8 units, or he has 4 units. I need Or does he have 5? I need 10 units to charge, 2 on each one of his infantry. So, yeah, and the other thing I'm trying to do is like pull his units out. Like get into melee and maybe pull him away from the wall so I can charge him one at a time. That would also be good. So, yeah, and I want to hit charge with these guys, which is the C button. So I'm trying to, yeah, charge that guy, charge that guy, charge that guy. And we'll build up some melee experience. Now this guy at the end should rout. Yes. So we got the supply wagon, and that should make some of these guys more likely to rout. This guy in the back, he just became like recovered. But if I can get 2 guys on him, we can maybe capture him. Yes, and another guy surrendered, and that should lead that last guy in the tail end, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the guy on the tail end. The thing I'm doing wrong is, in charges, the commander should be right there. So I'm screwing that part up. Oh, I need to get that infantry I captured away from his artillery. Yes, and he got hit by 2 infantry, and the guy on the right, and he surrendered. And that's what you want to do, 2 on 1. Now I need to get that his last artillery unit. I also need to get an infantry unit on top of all these captures. So you see how his artillery is there. His artillery can recover one of those units, and I don't want that to happen. Hopefully he shatters, gone. So I got ammo wagon and 2 captures, and killed his artillery. Happy day. And my guys got some melee experience. Yeah, we took some losses, but that was some really good melee experience. And we also captured this supply wagon that kept trying to get away. So now, yeah, at the it's 9:30. I'm sure I've got tons of time. Some of my units are tired. Just let them rest and detach some skirmishers to shoot at these guys who are not terribly large. Just buy some time. Yeah, I'm looking at condition. Anyone who has condition can walk north. There's no reason to run anywhere. Yeah, and these detached skirmishers that I brought up from the other edge of the map, they're coming on right on these guys' flank, so that's nice. There's some sort of, it looks like a variable rate of morale recovery depending on the battle. These guys should not be able to recover like this. That's a really weird recovery, because they've been pretty shot up at this point. They've taken a lot of losses. They've all been in melee. Well, they're firing at, 0 rate. I mean, that's not a volley. That's the broken unit firing puffs of smoke. So they're broken. But still, well, he took a couple of shots and routed. Okay. Now, are all of his units routed at this point? Looks like they're all white, surrounded. Looks like they're broken. Yeah, and down to close to 1,000. So I don't really want to melee right now, but I need to think about it because he's getting all shot up and he's just going to start shattering. So, yeah, why are these guys blocked? I'm thinking. And too many of my units are exhausted. I need my units to get 20% condition back. But look, his units are just evaporating. But I would like to get some more captures. So I'm trying to get fresh units up on the line. And I can't run because everyone has been in melee, so they're a little bit tired. Yeah, but you'll notice that when we first started this battle, it was very tense because the enemy could win, and now we're at the end of the battle and the enemy's just going to be captured and wiped out. So that's what happens. You fight the battle, you grind the enemy down. It's easier on Brigadier General or Major General, but then at some point, even on Legendary, the enemy's defeated and we're just going to capture a bunch of them. In the past, I would have just milked this for XP by firing into them until they shattered, but I would really like to get a couple more captures. And what I'm doing here is I'm sending units to walk to grind some XP, and he surrenders, and the other unit surrenders. So about the time I give the order for everybody to start walking and grinding condition, okay, he surrenders. Didn't even have to get into melee. So he lost 15,000, I lost 2,500, 7-1, and for units, some of my units took some losses. That Lorenz took some losses, particularly, got shot up pretty hard. We did get some nice promotions, that's very nice. I think that was a wounded officer, so he's going to come back, I think, if I saw that right. Captures are always wonderful. Got a bunch of captured men. What was it? 5,000 captured. And I don't want to fight the battle again. I'm happy. I'm done. He's down to 37 to 42 going into Shiloh. That's a nice number. Happy to see it. So, yeah, it was a good battle. Glad it's over. It's not one of my favorite. All of my units came in, so that's 11 units came in. I'm thinking about going ahead to 7. I need 6 for Shiloh, but I'd like to get to 2,500. Unit size 2,500 as quickly as possible, but I don't think I have enough men to really make that worthwhile. Here are the Allied units. If I don't do anything, I'm at 41,000. But I'm going to put everybody in the army, and I'll see you at camp. Thanks for watching.